I'm Melanie Gonzalez. I'm here with Leslie Perez. We are with the Crisis Counseling Program, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about emotional resilience. If you were here last time or if you watched last week's, we touched on a little bit, but we want to go more in depth today. So again, my name is Lana Gonzalez. I am a crisis counselor, and a few steps I like to take to build my own resilience. I like to keep a strong support system. So my friends and my family is a huge part of my life, and they help really keep me grounded during stressful situations. I also like to really step back and think before I act or speak, because sometimes you say things you don't mean, and being able to take a step back, it really helps you think think things like clearly. I also like to try to keep neutral expectations for myself. Sometimes you put too much of an expectation on yourself that you fall short and you feel even worse about yourself. So those are a few things that I like to do to build my own emotional resilience.
My name is Leslie Perez. I am also a crisis counselor. And some steps that I take for building my own emotional resilience are I have a gratitude journal. It's something that I learned from a friend a few years ago, and now I think it's the greatest thing. And all that is for me is I actually found an affirmations journal. So it has little positive quotes just about life in general for me. And every day at the end of the day, I take a few minutes to write down 3 things that happened during the day that I am grateful for. Um, and then I have learned to practice mindfulness in my conversations. So it's very similar to like Elena said, I take a step back and I try to really listen to the conversation, but I also try to speak clearly and speak my emotions to the people that are very involved in my life. Whether it is my family, my husband, my mom or dad, or even my coworkers, I try to just be mindful in my conversations. And I set some healthy habits for myself just to keep me in a routine and keep my mind feeling healthy and rested. And so some of those habits that I use are I have a bedtime for myself. It sounds a little silly because I'm an adult, but I have a bedtime that I try to be in bed every night. And I try to get up around the same time every single day, even on the weekends, even when I want to sleep in. And that just helps me stay focused, stay relaxed, and stay in my routine, especially Monday through Friday when I'm working and running errands and those sorts of things. So when we are jumping into emotional resilience, the first thing we want to do is um, one of our discussion questions. We have 3 total, so this is the first one. For all of the discussion questions, you guys are welcome to answer in the chat or unmute yourselves. It's a small group, so if you're comfortable unmuting yourself and answering, you're more than welcome to. So our first question is a word association, and all I want to know is what comes to your mind when you hear the term emotional resilience.
Y'all feel free to mute yourselves if you want to, but I was thinking like emotional, like balance, kind of just like a steady, not major highs and major lows, perhaps.
Yeah. Finding a balance in your emotions is definitely part of building your resilience. Anybody else want to answer the question? All right, we'll move on. So emotional resilience refers to one's ability to adapt to stressful situations. People with strong emotional resilience are better able to adapt to adversities without lasting difficulties. So it's the ability to learn to live with your self-beliefs, your self-comparisons, and enhance cognition. It's kind of like steeling yourself, but also being confident in yourself and your beliefs, because you need to have that confidence to really stand up to all the different things that life is going to throw at us, especially in times like this, where we are dealing with a pandemic and so many changes going on with that pandemic, going back to work in person, people not wearing masks, all of those things. So it's really just learning to build up yourself so you adapt well.
So in order to understand how to build up that emotional resilience, you have to get to the root of what types of things cause you stress or distress, right? So work, for example, certain aspects of work or even school can increase stress, strict deadlines, or even a hostile work environment. Home life, if you're unsafe or if you're, it's just a very negative situation at home, that can make certain stressful situations feel even worse. Um, Pre-existing mental health conditions, maybe you are more prone to being anxious, or maybe you're going through symptoms of depression, that can also amplify those stressful situations. So these are not all of the symptoms of distress, but these are some of the main ones. So for physical symptoms, you have fatigue, sleeping too much, or maybe you're sleeping not enough. New unexplained pain, maybe you have headaches all throughout the day that can't be fixed with Tylenol. Changes in your appetite, maybe when you're stressed out, you eat a lot or you lose your appetite altogether. And then you have the mental symptoms. So those feelings of being overwhelmed or helpless, like you can't catch a break. You can have difficulty concentrating on one thing. You're kind of consumed by all of this stress that you can't focus on anything else. Unusual anger or aggression. So those feelings of irritability, or maybe you lash out at people that you wouldn't have otherwise. And then anxious feelings. So maybe you're fidgety or nervous going through your day to day.
So when we're talking about building emotional resilience, we're probably wondering how building emotional resilience can help us deal with distress. Emotionally resilient individuals are better equipped to deal with distress because they're better able to bounce back from stressful situations with a positive energy and confidence. So you are more equipped to view a situation that is stressful or distressing to you with that positive light, and with the confidence that you are going to come out of this on the better end, versus the way we tend to feel. A lot of us will feel anxious and overwhelmed and maybe start thinking, oh, maybe I can't do this. So what we want to do is we want to set ourselves up to deal with stress and stressful situations with positivity, and confidence that we're going to get through it. And so that brings us to our next discussion question, which is, what are some ways that you think you could build emotional resilience?
Maybe
Anybody?
not get yourself so like worked up. Once again, try to stay more balanced on your emotions. I know I have anxiety, so I really do try to keep that in check, because if
Yeah,
not, I am that person that snaps at people and I can't sleep and I can't eat and all of those things. So when that's going
yeah,
on, you
yeah,
have like very limited ability to handle things. So yeah.
yeah. And sometimes when we're feeling that way, it's a buildup throughout the day. I know my anxiety is lesser in the morning, and I start to kind of, it builds up throughout the day. So I'm a bit more snappy in the afternoon and evenings if I'm not practicing some of my emotional resilience and techniques that we're going to learn. So that's really great.
So there are 4 kind of core components to emotional resilience in and of itself. You have a sense of purpose, self-awareness, adaptability, accountability, and confidence. And I will go through each one of these individually. So sense of purpose, it's finding your strength and being socially conscious. It's showing compassion for others. It's getting rid of that selfishness that you might feel. Maybe you're feeling anxious and you're like, I need to do everything in my power to make me feel good. And you're not focusing on how your actions are affecting other people. Self-awareness, that emotional mastery, explore and understanding yourself and being open to differing beliefs or ways to do things or decision-making strategies. Adaptability, this is a huge one for emotional resilience. Being able to manage change while remaining open to opportunities for growth and being able to change if you find a better way to deal with things.
Oh my goodness.
Next is accountability. So whether you're holding yourself accountable or somebody else is holding you accountable, it's accepting.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I think it's me. I got kicked out. I'm trying to come back. Okay, I'm so sorry. Let me see if I can get this back up for us. Don't know what happened.
Well, at least your screen didn't go black that time. So that's all.
I couldn't see anything of you guys. I couldn't see the screen or anything. I think I passed like where poor Elena was. So I apologize.
You're back. Yeah.
I couldn't see anything. I'm trying to rescue it. Were we on the next slide, Elena?
Yes, you were.
Okay. I'm so sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Okay. So, accountability, right? So whether you're holding yourself accountable or others are holding you accountable. So maybe you did lash out at somebody. It's taking that step back and being, okay, that wasn't right. I'm going to try to make amends with that. Or you lashed out and somebody comes to you and says, hey, I don't like that you did that. And you trying to make it right in that way. Having confidence, self-acceptance, and your own beliefs in your decision-making and problem-solving ability without being overly optimistic, without trying to overextend that confidence.
And so with all of that, we still have a few more tips on building your emotional resilience. So there are, again, 5 elements of it. We want to build self-acceptance. We want to improve our stress management and strategies for stress management. We want to build our self-esteem, be more mindful and focused on the present, and build healthy communication skills. And I'm going to dive into all of these a little bit for us. So let's start with building self-acceptance. It's building the ability to accept yourself for who you are and not who you wish you were. It's saying, I might not be who I thought I was going to be or who I expected I would be, but I'm happy with who I am and how I've turned out so far, and I'm happy with where I'm going in my future. So really working to just build ourselves up, and our acceptance of ourselves is very healthy in building our emotional resilience. Improving your stress management strategies. This one is a little complicated because everybody deals with stress very differently, as we learned in the last presentation. So finding methods to improve your response to stress improves your overall emotional health. But it's really important when you are looking for ways to deal with stress that you look for ways that help you and not ways that you think might help or others tell you will help, what things that you are really interested in. So for me, dealing with stress, I like to do a little bit of yoga and stretching and things like that. That's something that I enjoy that helps me relax at the end of the day, but that might not be something that you're even interested in. And so it's not going to help you if it's not something that draws in your interest and allows you to relax and really just kind of decompress. Building your self-esteem. So learning to challenge our negative thoughts and practice compassion towards ourselves is a really wonderful way to build our own self-esteem. And that can look like so many things. When I start to feel very negative, I try to take a step back and just remember all of my positives. And my going back to the beginning, I told you guys that I have a gratitude journal, and that plays a huge role in building my self-esteem. So for me, finding one that had like positive affirmations that just say, hey, you are a great person, you are loved, and things like that. And then being able to write in that and remind myself of um, all the good things that happened, maybe all the good things that I did in the day. It really has helped build my self-esteem and my confidence in myself. But it also allows me to practice a little bit of more compassion towards myself because sometimes I am really hard on myself. But then at the end of the day, I'll sit down and I'll say, one of my three things that I'm grateful for is that one of the things that I'm kind of been tearing myself up over all day because maybe it didn't go as smoothly as I wanted it to. Um, but it still went really well. I still got positive feedback from it. So putting those in front of myself for me is big in building my self-esteem. Um, and then building mindfulness is another kind of huge step in building your emotional resilience. It's the practice of being aware, accepting, and focused on what is happening in the present. I know for a lot of people, it's really hard not to think about what happened 2 hours ago, 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago. Those little thoughts will pop up and bug us, usually when we're trying to fall asleep. And so it's really important that you be mindful of these things and just remind yourself that the present is all that matters. We can only change little things in the past. Usually we can make up for wrongdoings, but we can't reset. We can't time travel yet. I wish we could and go back and fix those things. So being mindful is just learning to be in the moment, accept what's past, and be in the moment and be thankful for whatever's happening in the moment and be present. And then building healthy communication skills. And this is really a hard one, I think, for a lot of people to learn. You have to learn to allow yourself to really listen to people and respond with intention. And this leads to less stress when speaking to family, friends, and coworkers. And I know we all probably take a step and we're like, hey, I listen. But a lot of times we hear and we don't really listen because listening is really taking in the entire conversation, the entirety of what somebody is saying to you, and not just focusing on the key words that we hear that tell us, hey, I need to respond. And healthy communication is responding with intention. So you've listened to the whole conversation. You've really heard what the other person is saying, and your response is in line with what they've said. So it's not oh yeah, that sounds great. It's yes, you made a lot of sense to me, and XYZ that you said makes sense, and this is what I'm going to do going forward, or however that conversation looks. You just want to make sure that you're having a strong and healthy communication, that you're communicating not just what's important to other people, but also what's important to you, because sharing our feelings and stresses with other people also helps build our emotional resilience. So moving on from that, we're going to open up. We have one more discussion question.
Yes. So what tips do you see yourself implementing into your life? Or do you have any other ideas that could also help you try to build up some of that resilience?
I think for me, it's probably, it looks like a lot of this is keeping my stress in check. So I think that's what I need to stay on top of.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
that's really a really large portion of your emotional resilience, is just learning to navigate keeping your stress balance and in focus, and not focusing necessarily on the stress, but on how to get through the stress in a positive manner. So we are, oh, I think I skipped a step. Nope. Okay. I'm sorry. We're open for questions and answers. This was kind of all wrapped into one. That's what it was. So if
Mhm.
anybody has any questions or comments on anything that we've talked about so far, now would be the time if you want to unmute yourself or type anything in the chat. We'll give you just a couple minutes if you want to ask any questions.
A mindfulness class that that Bethany arranged has helped me, Leslie, a great deal. And
Oh, I'm
then
glad.
allowing myself time to work through a situation. I attended in-person church services 2 weeks ago, and someone came up and sat down beside me during the service, very close, and got even closer to hug me, and stayed, and I really felt panicked, ready to bolt for the side door, but I was afraid I'd disturb the service. And after the service, I learned that this person had chosen not to have a vaccine, which made me even more upset. And it took me days to deal with that. My first reaction was, I'll write her a note and explain how I feel. But I know that would really be difficult for her to take. And I'm afraid it would lead to some painful attempts to explain, which I would rather avoid. And so I talked about it with a friend and have given myself some days to calm down and have thought of ways to avoid that situation.
That's a really great example of practicing mindfulness too, because I think a lot of us would want to react immediately. It's that flight or fight sense kicks in, especially in times like this where we don't know if people have had the vaccine or not had the vaccine, and how we feel about that, if we've had it or not, if we've had a chance to get it. I have been in that situation as well. My husband and I are both vaccinated, but I have a toddler who is obviously not vaccinated. And I've had somebody try to be very close with her that I know isn't vaccinated. And I love this person dearly, but I'm always like, can we just be mindful that she doesn't have her vaccine and we're still protecting her. So that's a wonderful use, because sometimes sitting back and just thinking through the situation and making a plan for ourselves is the best way to react.
Mhm.
Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to discuss or share?
With Martha bringing up that mindfulness class, we went a lot through that on breathing and just focusing on your breathing for a bit, and that is true. I hadn't thought of that. I have done that quite a bit myself. So.
Yeah, I do breathing techniques for my anxiety, especially now. I know all of us feel very differently about how we deal with COVID and kind of the post-vaccine situation. And I do breathing techniques when I'm out in public if I start to feel anxious about something. So that's really good. So if nobody else has anything they want to share, we will go ahead and share a little bit more about the CCP.
Yes, so the CCP is the Crisis Counseling Program. We are through Texans Recovering Together. We are joined with Hill Country MHDD, which is the local mental health authority, and we are funded by a FEMA grant that allows us to provide the community with free mental health assistance. And that covers the entire Hill Country area, all the way from San Marcos down to Del Rio and everything in between.
And so one of the services that we offer with the CCP is classes like these skill classes, where we can bring to you some information on different subjects that might help you while dealing with everything that's gone on and continues to go on and change during this pandemic. So we've done our previous presentation on stress and resilience, and then today we did emotional resilience. We also offer a large variety of skill set presentations. We can do anything from changing daily habits or setting daily habits, anxiety, depression, coping skills, you name it. We can probably, we either have a presentation or we can create one for it. So if you enjoyed this class and you want to see more of them and you have a specific subject, you can let, I'm sure Bethany know, and she can help us set something up for you on that subject. We have lots of wonderful presentations that we're able to give. Also, if you know anybody that you think might benefit from this, we have several ways that you can contact us out in the community. We are kind of all over.
Yeah, so if you did want to contact us directly, you can contact our team lead, Lauren Mitchell. She is available at that phone number in the email that is on the screen right there. But if you know anybody, or if you need that additional mental health assistance, we do have a support line that you can call. It is 24/7. It's completely free. It's anonymous. If that's something that you're concerned about, that is also available to you.
Yeah, and they'll help you get in touch with a professional and whatever services you need in your local area. We also are available on social media. So we have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under Texans Recovering Together. And on all three of these platforms, you will find all sorts of wonderful information shared about coping and just kind of getting through all of this, what this pandemic entails. So we have a wide variety of information shared every single day on all three platforms. And we welcome you to check them out and see if anything might help you out there. So, and then we have our surveys. Elena is going to put a link to the surveys as well in the chat. We love feedback and we love to hear from you. If you have any feedback on how this presentation went, or if you have any specific ideas for presentations in the future, anything like that that you want to share with us, you can either hold your phone up to the screen right now with your camera and it'll open the web page for you, or you can click on the links that Elena's putting in the chat and they'll take you to the survey. We love the feedback that we get from everybody. So it really helps us out a lot. So, and then that wraps up our presentation today. We really hope that everybody enjoyed the presentation and we are looking forward to next month's presentations.